Okay, it is the end of August 2025. My heart is racing. I have some bad news that I'm going to share with you. And I want to get back to the things that bring me joy. First, I'm going to start by telling you this is not about politics. It's worse. So I'm going to cry. I'm sorry. Sorry about the discomfort. Last June, I put an introduction on a video, and I had never done that before as far as I can remember. I think I tried, and they were so goofy. And it was about my sister. I had asked her permission to mention her because throughout that month in my flip through, I mentioned a lot. She had gone to the ICU because she had almost died. This last May, the day before my birthday, my sister was found unresponsive. If you can be here with me, thank you. If you can't, it's okay. On July 19th, my sister died. And this has been incredibly hard. She has 2 children. One of them is an adult and the other is 13, and I am now taking care of him. He lives with me. He is pure joy. He's a beautiful, beautiful boy. My sister was an absolute perfection of love and a mother, despite everything that she fought through and everything that was hard for her. Love was paramount. She knew how to do that, and she knew how to give that to her kids. The pain is that my sister's husband, my nephew's father, died 4 years ago. So I don't know how he's doing it every day, but he's embracing his life and his joy. I can only guess that grief comes out in many different ways for different people. For me, it's a lot of crying. I have been wanting to do a lot of writing and drawing and doodling and get into my creative spaces. And when my father died 30 years ago, almost exactly the same age as my sister Joey, she lived 10 days after her 46th birthday. My father died in an accident about a month after his birthday, 46th birthday. After he died, it was very hard for me. He was the first father figure I ever trusted, and I could not do things with my hands. They just stopped working. Everything hurt. I couldn't zipper my jacket. My college roommate would cut my food for me so I could eat it. It was bad. The second time I hurt my hands was after my son was born, and I was very, very stressed and overwhelmed, probably with postpartum depression. And then about a week or 2 weeks before my sister died, I pulled out my paper test, A6. See, I did put planners in here. And I hadn't written in it in a couple months. My sister was hospitalized for 2 months in the ICU. She was about a week away from getting a transplant, and if my channel will offer me that grace, I really want to incorporate a lot of the things that I learned, because I think that what I learned can help a lot of people. I think it can help a lot of people with alcoholism, alcohol disease, substance use disorder. I think it can help a lot of people with even what they don't think is alcoholism, which is totally fine, just daily light drinking. I think it could help a lot of people with grief, liver disease, cirrhosis, and just recognizing your own worth and your own absolute right and desire to be loved, and that you are loved and worthy and valued. About medical advocacy, if you have a loved one in the hospital, and how you can best advocate for them. All the while still coming back to the root of Sure by Dabbles, which is creativity. And I think creative aspirations, and even not even having aspirations, but just using this vehicle we all have, can help in all of those areas. I want to clarify for anybody who drinks that I am not going to, try to get you to stop drinking. Well, I might, but I don't think it'll be preachy. I think it's more just things that I learned about my own drinking. I mean, you've seen my flip throughs. We went to happy hour quite a lot. Our social circle centers around happy hour. And watching my sister die from something that really wasn't an issue until she got a gastric bypass surgery. So I would be covering that as well in some of my videos, how I can label them so that you know they are not to do with you. Fine, I can't guarantee that some things just won't sneak in. I'm sorry. I still have my paper. Paper is always going to be at the root of everything that I do. I mean, even though I haven't been as creative in my paper, I use paper still. I still worked while I was at the hospital at my sister's bedside. So I wanted you to know that that's my update, and I do plan to do a complete flip through of my 2024 Hobonichi. I don't think I ever went front to back cover. It is completely full except for the very last week of December. And largely, I think, because my other, my cousin Avec was here, and I think I was going to start using that. I may have that first week filled out there. Also, my A6 Tejo, which I ended up using as a daily diary. I still use one this year as well, but it's the Kinvor version, because last year in 2024, it was significantly cheaper. Now, I haven't looked at the prices, but from things that I've seen online, Kinvor is not quite the cheap option that it used to be. I'll show you how I have used my Hobonichi weeks in 2025 so far for inspiration, mostly to capture ideas, capture quotes that I like, any doodles. I really like how that has come along. And if you have old versions that you haven't used, the ways that I have come up to use these things might be super helpful. Same with the Avec cousin. I have not been using it quite that often, though the second half, July through December, I've started in again, and I am hoping that by giving you this message and letting you know where I am, and if you're comfortable meeting me in the middle with that, but especially because I'm grieving. There is a woman I've seen with Happy Planners who lost her husband and son, and it comes up a lot in her videos, and I figure if her subscribers are okay hearing that, then you are. And I probably overthink all of this shit too much. I really probably overthink it all, and you guys probably don't care. But for those that do, I just want you to know, trying to respect that as much as possible. Some of the things that I'm going through the weeks, the paper tests. I love my paper tests weekly that I have used at the start of the year very diligently as a health planner. I really think that's going to be something awesome for everybody to see. I still definitely use this as a budgeting planner, and I will go over that with you as well. I can't tell you when this is all going to come, but I am learning to have a better routine now. I'm a month out from my sister dying. I was with her up until the very end. I swear about a half hour before she finally let go, which had to have been the most extraordinarily bravest thing she has ever had to do, was to leave us. I swear I felt someone hug me. It could have been her, it could have been my dad, it could have been somebody I never really met, but something hugged me. And the last words that I had said to her right before she died, that I was afraid to say to her because we got into a fight about it 2 weeks before I got the call that she was unresponsive at home and was going to the hospital, was about that I would take care of her son and I would honor her every day. She is always his mother, always his mom. And I think she needed to hear that from me. One of the things that happens when your liver starts to fail is you get an enormous buildup of ammonia in your blood, and it crosses the blood-brain barrier because your liver cannot filter it out. There's a lot of other toxins that your liver produces and that your liver can't clear. And ammonia, because it crosses the blood-brain barrier, it affects you cognitively. It affects your memory. It affects your sense of time. It makes you very tired. It can make you hallucinate. It can make you believe things that aren't real. Your thoughts, your imaginary thoughts can suddenly be real. And my sister believed that I was trying to take her son from her when he would spend the night with me for me to do his hair, like take out his twist. And then the next day, I was going to take him to get locks. He had always wanted locks. And my sister just thought I was taking him away. And growing up in foster homes, understanding what alcohol had done to her liver and that her liver was failing, in retrospect, I understand where that came from. At the moment, I didn't. And I yelled at her. I told her she was crazy. I hadn't yelled at my sister in over 20 years. Our relationship was too important to me that any understanding or patience I could ever have for a human being, I gave it all to her. And when I knew that I couldn't give it to her because she was drinking and it was so painful, I avoided her. And she understood that. I was happy to find text between us that where she said, "I am sorry you had to protect yourself from me. You should never have had to protect yourself from me." And she said she's sorry that she put me in that position, and I had nothing but apologies back for her. She could have really used me during her struggles, and I couldn't always be there for her. These are things that are real life. And in grief, we wish that we were perfect. We're not. We're just not. We are human. So I'm learning and trying to forgive all of my regrets. And to recognize and understand that when we are in our daily lives, so much more happens that makes us human. And only in the face of death or endings of any kind, relationships, whatever, can we look back with insight into what's most important and recognize and realize where we lost sight of it, where we didn't know it. And it's still going to happen. I'm still going to take things for granted. I'm still going to miss opportunities. I'm still going to fuck up. I'm going to try my best not to, but I also need to recognize that I can't punish myself when I miss it. I can only try to recognize it and do better. And those are the kind of messages I want to share with you as much as possible. No matter how it comes out, in my planners, in my doodling, in my painting, in my advice, in my little tutorials that I can try to come up with to just make life easier, to give us places to breathe and to be. Some books, in case you're suddenly realizing, maybe it's your first time, like, oh shit, like I have something similar happening to me and I don't know what to do. So I read this book, After, by Bruce Grayson. He is a scientist who worked with Richard Moody. I don't have that book with me. Richard Moody in 1975 wrote a book called Life After Life, where he cataloged near-death experiences. He coined the term near-death experiences. It wasn't even a thing before then. And more we're trying to find scientific ways to measure and account for them. And they are real. They are real. They have happened. There are so many commonalities between people's near-death experiences that we can't deny that something else happens to us. I need to hear these, read these, and see these for my sister. She had gone into the hospital again, I think it was December, and she told me that she had been resuscitated twice on the way to the hospital, once at home and again on the way, and that she saw our father, that my dad, Joey, was not religious. She, in fact, most of her life was atheist, and then she decided that she just wasn't sure. There might be something there, but she didn't believe it was a God, just something else, not like one being like in Christianity, you know. And I have to agree. I think there's a big universe and there's an energy, you know, that I think, I don't know. Anyway, I haven't formulated. I'm not going to put it out there like that is the end all be all, because I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. But she saw our father Phil, and she said he looked at her and he pointed and he said, "Go back. Go back." And I have this very clear image of my sister rubbing the sheets of her hospital bed, leaning forward. And she's like, "I know I've said this before. I am never drinking again. I'm sick of this. I'm not doing this anymore." And I believe her. And I believe her even through every drink she took after, that she did not want to do it. It's a disease. It is a lonely disease because people are not talking about it. And we have to talk about it, and we have to love those people. We can be angry at them at the same time, but it is a disease, and our culture, our society is failing them at every turn for a profit. I said what I said. I also have these journals that I will definitely go through with people. This is called How to Carry What Can't Be Fixed. And this is by Megan Devine. I'm reading her other book. I didn't bring it to the table either, called It's Okay to Not Be Okay. That one is a very real, down to earth, like some people are going to piss you off in what they try to say to you out of kindness. So this is a journal for grief. I've done like the checklist bits. I've done a little pencil work and writing in here, and I can go through this as well because it's paper. I also got one that looked like it was far more substantial from the pictures, but it's not. It's this little thin one. It looks like something someone may have published over on BookBolt. Totally fine. I don't care. It's out there and it's a resource. And again, I'm going to revisit the idea of creating my own journals. It's not a complicated process. I mean, there are so many typos in here, but that's not the point. The point is the message and what it's trying to help you get through. So I'm still going to do it. There's like it's a memory. It's like a memory keeper. Asking you questions for things that you might want to remember about your loved one. This one says sister. I saw one for son and for daughter, different kinds of loss. And then I have some alcohol books. The one that I see most recommended for people is This Naked Mind. This book purports at the very beginning, I'm not going to tell you to stop drinking. You're going to decide by the time you're done reading this that you want to do it anyway. She actually encourages you to drink as you normally would as you read this book, but to only read a chapter a day at most. Don't go beyond that. It's very down to earth. She was a drinker herself. There's a lot of great fun messages in here that I underline and keep. It was truly just a social drinker, but at a certain point I recognized I had to start keeping track of my drinks. So that kind of tells me how social a drinker am I really. And my whole social life was revolving around pubs and breweries. So I started this for my sister. I got this book for my sister. And I then told myself I wanted to read it to understand my sister. And then as I was reading it, I was like, shit, I think this actually has a lot to do with me too. I did not drink to excess. I never got really drunk. I didn't even drink every day of the week. For a brief period I did, which is when I started counting. But this applies to everybody, honestly. It just does. I can't tell you how many nurses I met that were like, I don't drink. It's poison. Alcohol is poison. So, and then I got another one called Understand Why You Drink and How to Stop. It's Alcohol Explained. This one's also recommended by a lot of people online in the different groups that I'm in. Again, I just wanted to understand my sister. And one of the big things I learned, and I'm going to tag Roux-NY gastric bypass in women, in calling various hospitals to get her a transplant. We did find one that would give her a transplant. She was probably just days away from being able to get the surgery when she had to just pass the tests that would show her heart would survive the surgery, because it can be 4 to 8 hours, and with her gastric bypass it is more complicated to get a transplant. But the heart test required some blood thinners, and it caused her brain to bleed, And then a couple days later, when they had to pull the drain, she suffered a lot of seizures and then what looked like a stroke. Part of the procedure partly injured her brain. That's one of the risk factors, especially when you have liver disease and your blood is already very, very thin. I don't know why they gave her blood thinners in that case. I guess they just had to see if she would survive the surgery, and she maybe wouldn't have. But an hour before her surgeries, I was cleaning her mouth off. She just had a lot of dry skin and buildup of things, and she hadn't been able to eat real food for a while. I would say her whole last month she didn't have any real food, and even the month before then she just had Jello every now and then. It was an Ensures. She said thank you, and it was hard for her to speak sometimes. She was exhausted, and she said thank you. And then she said, I love you. Shortly before then, over text, she said, I don't tell you this enough, but I love you. And I feel like she told me all the time. And then a little bit after that, when I was cleaning her eyes or something, she said, this feels just like Brockton. Brockton is where we grew up in our original life with our birth family, our two other younger siblings, our birth mother. We relied heavily on each other all the way up until we found a stable family after 10 foster homes. I was 16, she was 14 when we found that family, when she found that family for us. And I'd love to tell you our story someday too. And once we found a stable family, it was like we experimented with not relying on each other. But I think even more than her, I did that. And I think it was enormously hard for her to have life without me right there. But she was so strong and powerful that I think it's hard for me to imagine, but she was still such a sensitive heart. And I mean sensitive in the kindest, most loving way, sensitive as in open and vulnerable and honest in her heart. And I think that's why losing our father affected her in ways that I could never fully comprehend. And then the loss of her husband was just rending. It just pulled it all out and left it at her feet. And I believe that she just felt totally lost. She just wanted to feel loved in life. And instead what she felt, I think, was a lot of abandonment. Anyway, it's going all over the place. And then after she said, this feels just like Brockton, which I thought may have been the environment we were in. I thought it was the hospital. Had to go out to Philadelphia for the hospital that would take her for a transplant, because most places won't if you do not have 6 months sobriety. They did. But then once she had that seizure, they had to, I didn't even get to the seizure part. An hour or two after she said, I love you, and this feels just like Brockton. And I thought she meant the environment, but maybe in retrospect, she meant me taking care of her. She started having a seizure. I was there for it. I was with her every day, except when she was in Philadelphia and I had to come back and see my son 1 or 2 days a week. I was immediately back there every single day, 9 to 9, sometimes 9 to 10:30. Driving a lot. I put 2,000 miles on my car in 2 months. She started having a seizure. And I tried to help keep her calm. And the last words she said to me was, I'm scared. I did not want those to be the last words she said to me. I was scared too. And I tried to keep her calm because her heart rate was going so fast. I believe that she stayed with us for a whole other month and 7 days, a whole month and another week after that seizure, for us, to get me ready. She did so many things before me, and then I would be comfortable to do it too. She wanted to leave one of our more abusive foster homes first. She needed me to help get it done. She convinced me. She wanted to find a family of our own instead of letting the foster care system choose for us. And she found them on our track team. She asked them if we could live with her. I didn't even know them, but if Joey wanted to go, I would go. And it turns out she was spot fucking on. They were our family. She decided to get adopted by that family. Our dad had died 2 years later, but our mother was there, and Joey decided she wanted to be adopted as an adult. She was 25. 2 years later, I said, okay, I can do it too. She started calling our mother Mom. And then 2 years later, I decided I would call her Mom. And then for 2 months, my sister fought. She was exceptional. She should have died within a month of being in the hospital, if not sooner. But she is exceptional. I had last talked to a hospital to consider her for transplant about 3 weeks after her seizures. They had to heavily sedate her because she just continued to have seizures. For a day, they didn't sedate her at all because the EEG wasn't showing seizures. But I did a lot of research and I talked to doctors a lot, and they agreed with me. And they were seizures, and they started treating her, but they had to treat her heavily. And with her liver, drugs don't flush out of the system quite as quick. So she was under sedation. She wasn't waking up for about 10, 12 days. So she was no longer a liver transplant candidate, and they sent her back to her originating hospital. And at that originating hospital, she woke up, but then her kidneys were failing. And then the last 3 days she was there. I'll do a different separate video for the whole story. I apologize. I just wanted to give you an update, and I got lost in it. But she was there for us. And someday I know I will write about it, but for now maybe I could just talk about it. I do want people out there who are concerned for themselves to do something about your concern. Tell somebody. If you immediately know somebody, or you know somebody who feels they have to go to a hospital for care, we have such an enormous stigma about alcohol. I want to assure you, after being with my sister, that this is a medical condition, and they will see it as a medical condition. There will be no judgment about your drinking, and if you see judgment in any of the care people, they are not being professional and should be reported. This is a medical condition, and you need treatment. It is a disease. It is a substance use disease. It is one that society encourages. Do not ignore your own care, your own family, and your own self-worth because of assholes. Go to a hospital, let them know you need detox treatment. They might prioritize other patients over you, but they will get blood work right away to assess whether or not you can keep waiting. You might have to wait a long time. I encourage you, if you go when you are not sober, to bring somebody with you who knows exactly how important it is for you to stay. I brought my sister once in March. We were there 6 hours. She really wanted to go home several times. It was the most sober she had ever been going to the hospital. The other time she was unconscious. It was very hard for her to sit there and wait without a drink. It was incredibly hard. I don't know if it's a good idea to bring something to drink with you if you know that it'll make you stay. I honestly feel you got to do what you got to do. If you have to stay at the hospital, you will eventually get care and they will take that drink away. But I don't know if they would turn you out if you're not. For some people, 6 hours can feel like a friggin' eternity. So try to find a hospital that you know doesn't have long waits. I would avoid inner city hospitals. I would go, if you are in a city, I would find a hospital that is more in a suburban area with fewer emergencies. One, it just frees up the emergency room for people who really need emergent care, but also you might not have to wait quite as long. I understand the stigma and the judgment that you would be afraid of getting. I want to assure you that from all of the doctors, the nursing staff, the medical staff, even people doing EEGs and x-rays, this is a medical condition that you need help with. And they will check your blood levels if you are, again, a separate video, but I'll just finish what I'm saying. You might have low potassium, low electrolytes, you might have high ammonia. They would give you fluids, typically a lot of minerals and vitamins. And that's if you're just at, your first stages. Sometimes you can expect a hospital stay of 4 days because you might have withdrawals. Some people might have seizures when they withdraw, so they might give you seizing medications just in case. They can assess all of that, but do get care. I didn't want to go into all of this, but hi, welcome to my channel again. Other things I'll share is doodling. I think I mentioned before that when you do straight lines or curved lines, just lines, repetitive things, it can be calming for anxiety. I'm sorry this went longer than I wanted it to. I actually wanted to set my timer for 20 minutes and it has now been at least 30, I think. I am just happy to put it out there and to let you know that I'll be back. The very first thing I'm going to do, because I know it's the season, even though I know that they are way expensive this year, I haven't looked at the prices. I just am gathering this from what people have said. I will still go through my Hobonichi flip through so that if you are debating whether or not you want to spend this much money, that much money on one of these, we can find out if my flip through tells you yay or nay. I do have monthly flip throughs that you can go to in the meantime or in the meanwhile. If you were curious more about my sister's story, I talk more about it in June 2024's flip through. So I will do that one first. And then I think I will do my budgeting sheets. No, I won't do that. I'll wait until closer to the year. We'll figure it out. I'll figure it out. I will figure it out. So I got new glasses. I got them while my sister was in the hospital, and I remember, like, I was driving back and forth from Philly and it was so dark. Sometimes I was driving home at 11 o'clock at night, and it's about 2.5 hours, and I could not see lines in the road. Every light and reflector was enormous. I have an astigmatism, first of all, and then wearing glasses with reflection. Sometimes it was raining. It was downright terrifying, and I thought maybe different glasses will help. And I could not go to a place that was in network because I needed an appointment the next day. I was driving too much, too often, too frequently. It was dangerous. I needed glasses now. So I went to a lens crafter's and I could not spend a lot of money. These were pretty cheap. I am embracing my big, bold inner art teacher, older lady persona. My new phone case kicks ass. Like, I'm looking at it right now. I love it. And when I put these on, I probably look very similar now, but even then it was worse. I'm telling you, 2 months ago, I looked far worse. So tired. I was so tired. And putting these big glasses on my little pale, tired face in the middle of summer, just in a rush to get the fuck out of there and go back to my sister, I felt like I looked like a bug. Like, it was like, it was so bizarre to go back and look at my sister, and I can't imagine, like, if she were able to, I'm sure she would have laughed at me. For the most part, she was sleepy and unconscious, and when her eyes were open, it was like she wasn't there. Her last few days, 3 days, we started doing something kind of experimental to wake her up because mentation was important to get her a liver transplant. So we did wake her up, but in those 4 days to wake her up, her blood pressure dropped so far down that she needed blood pressure meds to keep it up. And I didn't realize that that was life-supporting medication. So she, in talking to a doctor, that's what I was going to say earlier about getting her a transplant during that week. He had noted, he's an affiliate of the transplant hospital she was at. He said, I will say that she is still alive after everything she went through with our facility and then being sent back to the originating hospital, and that she is still alive, he said, is compelling and extraordinary. And he said that it was indicative of exactly how much of a fighter she is. She is a fighter. But to see her, to imagine how she was looking at me, when she was looking at me, what she must have thought to see me come in with these big ass arty freaking glasses, you know, while looking so sad. And she must be like, I'm sitting here. And Joey she would just call it brass tacks. You know, I'm sitting here on my deathbed and you go out and get these ridiculous huge glasses. But I've grown. They've grown on me. She used to work at an eyeglasses place too. She had some really cool ones. I might pop some pictures up here. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe at the end I'll do a little slideshow. But yeah, she was cracking jokes the whole time. She was there too when she could speak. Even the day after she got her brain bleed, and her left side didn't work. By the end of the day, I was leaving her room because I had to get kicked out. And it took forever, not forever, it was a few minutes, but she slowly lifted her hand up. And I just stood there to watch her as she kept doing it. And then she got almost to her lips to blow me a kiss. And I went over and helped her. And she blew me a kiss, but she did that all on her own. The strength in people is so admirable and inspiring. And I am so lucky that I have a spectacular person. My sister was a human filled with amazing energy. If you're interested in any of the near-death stuff, there is a show on Amazon Prime, I believe, called I Survived Beyond and Back. It might be Hulu. The near-death experiences that are available on YouTube are fascinating. Mayim Bialik on her podcast Breakdown, which is on YouTube, talks with a lot of experts about near-death experiences in the afterlife. I find them fascinating. The strength and courage and bravery of my sister in her life and her death, that energy can't just disappear. I'm absolutely incredible, just absolutely incredible. So I'm going to sign off now. I'm going to post this. I may not edit it because then I might not post it because I'll look at it and say, this is too much. They don't need to know all this crap. If you did watch to the end, I would love it if you could just throw me a heart emoji with whatever comment you want, or a heartbreak emoji, or I'm trying to think of something my sister would want down there. I'll tell you what, my sister was my OG dude for years. Hey dude, how you doing, dude? I love you, dude. Just pop me down with a hey dude. I see you. I said that to her a lot too. I see you. And I see you. We're all gonna be okay. Keep your hearts open and keep your minds open. And remember that we are stronger than anything else that tries to knock us down. Even crappy health shit. All right, guys. Peace out, home skillets.